That's true. Muffin Man.
Good evening, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV, where we believe that everyone has the potential to be a giant in their own world. Hang tight, because tonight in this episode, besides Phillip Weech's hand, you're going to see how that you can illuminate your path to success. So this is an episode you're not going to want to miss. It's time to wake up the giant. Good evening, lads and laddies. Is that a thing?
And lasses.
You brought it in.
That's what they are.
Yeah.
Lads and laddies.
Lads and laddies are the same thing, I think.
Yeah, it was gonna come
Oh
up.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Welcome to Wake Up
Just
with Giants
different
TV.
sizes of them.
Yeah, where Ryan's got a raspy throat and in a mood tonight. So it's an interesting intro. My name is Ryan Morris, and as always, I'm here with your host, Nicholas T. Smith, the author of The Giants and the Smalls, and also the upcoming book, The Tortoise's Hair, which we'll be doing a Kickstarter on the 10th of March. And so we're excited for that. So watch for that. If you want to find out how to support that, how to figure out what the heck we're up to, because we're up to a lot of stuff, go to giantsandsmalls.com. Join the newsletter, because that gets you up to date in a hurry. Because there's some people that don't really know exactly what we do. They just stumble upon us like, who are these crazy dudes who like to hug people and talk about
They've been
giants?
members of the tribe for a year. They're like, hey, what's
This
this
is
group
great.
about?
What do you guys
They're
really
just a
do?
bunch of people.
Oh my gosh, we have some amazing coaching programs. We've got what is it, SG10 running right now, and a
SG9, yep.
SG9 and a wait list for SG10,
Correct.
which is awesome. And then also there's a wait list for what we call our giant live in person extravaganza.
It was the best. Yeah. That's actually the name of the product.
It's not at all. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. We're off to a great start tonight.
Yeah. Well, Ryan's coming off a COVID brain, so he's a little foggy.
Yeah,
So this will be interesting.
Super foggy, a little raspy. You're
Yeah.
welcome, ladies. And lads and laddies. Oh my gosh. Hey, will you tell people what our 12 journeys are, just in case they don't know the 12 journeys? Do you mind running through that real quick, Nick?
12 journeys are three different groupings of journeys. So you have your root journeys, which are all the unconsciousness, the awareness, grief, gratitude, acceptance, and empowerment. So it's all the internal heavy stuff that people don't want to face. And so when we can clear that out, it allows you to be more powerful when you add skill sets and other things to it. So once we have that in place, then we go into our growth journeys, which are uncertainty, abundance, vision, surrender, and nurture. And then finally, we wrap everything up with the legacy journey, which is the fruit of your efforts. And that gets you out to being a giant, right? And the beauty of these programs is that you will never reach the top of the mountain, so to speak. You'll reach one mountaintop and you'll find another one to climb. And so our goal is to always have you find ways that you're feeling small in your life and to turn those into giant ways of being.
Which is all described in the book in no uncertain terms. It's through the story of the giants and the smalls. If you can find that book, giantsandsmalls.com, or through Amazon, and then you can know what the heck this is all about too.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it's a great gift.
Should we introduce this dude that's on here with us?
Sounds like an infomercial that I did there at the end.
Yeah, that was good.
Not an infomercial. I'm terrible at that. But yes, let's introduce our guest, Nick.
We have a great guest. So we're excited to welcome Phillip Weech, whose winding path to success is sure to inspire and motivate all of you. So with a wealth of experience and a diverse range of perspectives on success formulas, including his experience with Stephen F. Hardison, Phillip is uniquely qualified to provide insights that can help others illuminate their own path forward. So as he shares his personal journey and range of viewpoints, we're confident that you will gain new insights that can help you take the steps into your own giant journeys. And with the combined expertise of all of us, right, we're sure that this conversation would be one that you won't want to miss. So join us as we dive into the topic of success and learn from the experiences and wisdom of Phillip Weech. Welcome to the show.
Thank
Man.
you. Let's do it. And the
Yeah.
path is still winding, by the way. We're still working through it, right?
That's the beauty of this path is we just know it's going to be a successful show. We have no idea how we're going to get there. And so the idea of illuminating the path of success, there is, to me, a message of surrender in that. And so maybe we can launch this from that, if that would be okay. Or if you have another view you want to take on, we can do that as well.
Yeah, that's fine. I have a little curveball for you. You ready for a curveball?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Hudson, Della, come on over real quick. I got some guest speakers here for the intro here.
Yes.
This is my daughter,
goodness.
Della.
Hi.
Della's 5, and this is Hudson.
What's up, guys?
These two have been ensuring that we read Giants and Smalls almost every night for the last couple of weeks, huh?
You guys like that book?
Yeah.
And they want to just share real briefly something with you. So Hudson, why don't you start? Hudson's going to share with everybody something that he's learned from reading the book Giants and Smalls. Ready?
Okay.
Nice and clear for everybody. Ready? Go.
If you think big, like nice thoughts, like I'm good enough, I can do it, then you'll be a giant. If you don't, then you won't. So you want to take the path where you think, yes, I can do it, not bad thoughts about yourself.
Oh, that's amazing.
Sweet.
Holy cow.
Nailed it. Can we take you on tour with us? We need a better introduce the show, too. Can you introduce all our shows?
We won't pay you for babysitting, though. All right, Ryan?
Oh, yeah.
He's not a very good babysitter. Monster drinks and beef sticks.
Yeah. But I wanted you two and our audience to see the impact that Giants and Smalls has. That's going to have an impact on their lives forever.
Hudson, that's incredible, because as you grow up here, you'll get to skip all the things that I had to learn as an adult, right? So if you can hang on that path of being a giant and thinking big thoughts like that, when you're my age, you're going to be a huge giant, like giant of giants, right? Pretty amazing.
You know how special your mom and dad are? They're such amazing people. We appreciate them so much. Make sure you love them, hug them, tell them all the time how much you love them. Yeah, because I love hugs. I give out free hugs, but Phillip Weech is one of the the best giants that we have, hands down. So love on your dad, okay?
Okay.
And then Della had one brief question for you guys. You ready, Della?
Yeah.
Where did you get the answer why Smalls and Giants?
You catch that?
Kind of. Help me
out.
Where
did you get the idea to write Smalls and Giants, she said.
Oh, your dad knows a gentleman named Steve Hardison, right?
Have you met Steve Hardison?
Do you know
that guy? He's a tall guy that comes over and brings gifts all the time. Remember? Yeah. It's
you know that guy?
Remember
he and I had a conversation, and he helped me to see things like a giant would see them. And that conversation inspired this story. And so that when I was down and really feeling sad about my life, that man put me on his shoulder. Not literally, that would be awkward, but he would.
He can do it.
I think he would. Yeah. He put me on his shoulder and stood up and showed me a way of seeing the world like I'd never seen it before. And that's what inspired the book, The Giants and the Smalls. Is that cool?
Does your dad help you? Does your mom and dad help you with things?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what Nick got. Nick got some help from some other people.
That's really cool, Della. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
I'm glad you guys came on.
One more thing. Let's go for it.
Why do they all have why do they all wear the same tiny hats?
The same tiny hats? Well, I think we all kind of do that. We see our friends wearing the same things and we want to fit in. And so we wear what they wear. And they just kind of did what everybody else was doing. And so kind of a cool style back then, right? Wow. Could you imagine visiting that world? Wouldn't that be cool?
Would you dress like everybody else, or would you do your own thing?
My own thing.
Your own thing?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
We love the uniqueness everybody has, huh?
Yeah.
All right, thanks, bud. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Hudson.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
That's
that was
cool,
awesome.
dude. That's so cool.
I love curveballs.
And in all honesty, you two really have had an impact. Like, they'll remember the story of the Giants and the Smalls forever. And
Yeah.
it's going to have an even bigger impact as they get older and have it apply in different areas of their lives as they mature. But that story will always be there forever in the back of their mind, shaping how they see their thoughts and the world around them.
This is a cool way to start, right? That is a curveball, but you talk about illuminating the path and illuminating it early, right? And many people that are on this show that come on as guests or that watch it had some pretty rough starts to that. They didn't have that viewpoint when they started out on their paths. So maybe we'll go back to that, right? With people who are starting out and maybe weren't illuminated early on, but are getting out there and stepping into the unknown, right?
Yeah.
They've awakened to who they are and what's possible for them, but they don't know quite how to do it. How would you advise them, guide them, mentor them, if that's a good start there, Phillip?
I love that question. Just love it. And the first thing that comes to mind is that probably happens to all of us at an early age and even continues to happen. Like we have a moment in life where we've kind of paused and reflected and things become illuminated and we take the steps, we have the adventure, right? That chapter closes and we're right back to the beginning again. We're a little elevated. We have more experience. But for me, I've noticed that happening over and over in my life in different chapters, almost like a book.
Yeah.
And I'd say my advice or what I reflect on or have been reflecting on when it comes to success and how do we illuminate the path to success, it all starts with how do we define it? What's success mean to us, right? And there was a quote that I read somewhere this morning, somewhere on social media, and I don't remember who wrote the quote, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but it goes something like, and I wrote it down, what I remember of it: be mindful of how you describe the world, for that is how it will be. And I've heard things like that before, but as I read that this morning, it sunk into a whole new level of where am I or how am I shaping what my life looks like and what's important to me, and what does success look like to me? Like the small hats we were just talking about a minute ago in your book, do we look around us to try to fit in successful lives, have the house, the career, the family, the friends, or whatever that looks like, the car, the clothes? Are we following the world's perspective? Not even the world, but our brought up stories of the world of what's important?
Yeah.
Or do we take a moment to step back and get to know ourselves and figure out what does a successful and meaningful life for me look like?
Okay, I'm going to throw out an
space for that, right?
Yeah, I'm going to throw out an Easter egg. Okay, and I don't
Do
know
it.
if people know this, but in the book, if you look at the hat on the ground, right, it's symbolic of him leaving down or putting down small things. So for his whole life, he lived an entire life, if you think about that, as a small, assimilated to the culture. And when he looks up at the giants in the book, the Easter egg is that he set down small things. And that's symbolic of that, like what you just talked about. Do you want to be like the world, the way the world is, or are you going to find your unique path? Right. So very, very impactful. What you just shared there is there's a chance for us to really determine, okay, who do I want to be in this?
Yes.
How do you arrive to that?
How did I arrive at that?
Well, how do you? So speaking to the person that's watching this right now, how do they arrive at that? Really recognizing, hey, there's
Maybe
something
that is
unique
how
in
you
me.
did.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a believer in providence. I'm a believer in whether we call it God. I believe in God or the universe or the universal power.
Yeah.
But it's my experience in my own life and working with other people and just talking with people that as we participate in this game of life that we are all a part of, if we will find those activities such as reading, reflection, hiking, things of that nature, where we can take a step back from the busyness of life and just ponder what's meaningful to us and find impactful questions to ask, I find that all of us receive inspired ideas that guide us into the next steps of what to do, in a way illuminating that path before us. And then it's up to us to act on those and see where it takes us. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I picture a tree. Our logo for our business, Mandelbrot, is a tree.
Yes.
right? And the idea of that is it's fractaled in nature. So we're going to pull in some fractals here.
Okay, let's
and
do
and in it, as it goes, it branches out in a direction, and one branch will grow, and it will grow to a certain amount, and then it might not go any further. But the tree doesn't quit. It'll grow another branch and another branch and a branch here and branch there, and it'll bifurcate. And if you zoomed in on it, you might say that's a little messy. It's not really getting anywhere. But you step back from it and you see the whole of the tree, and it's perfect, right?
Yeah.
What does that bring up for you as you hear that in relation to what you just shared?
Well, to be honest, it takes me to another analogy that I've always loved, that it's very similar, right? And it's looking at tapestries on
Okay.
walls. A lot of times tapestries hang on walls, and the tree is a perfect example too. But in my opinion, we sometimes have this perspective of how our life should be, this perfect vision, right, of what it needs to look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this comes out in form when we talk about, I want to feel good all the time. I want to feel fulfilled and joyful, and I want to just be happy all the time, right? But life's not like that. Life's got different colors, right? Different branches, so to speak, of the tree. And it's not meant to just be a straight line to the end goal and then we're finished. Like it's not about finishing and everything's perfect. It's about the experience along the way. So as branches, like you talk about branches going out, how many ways can I participate with life? How many different directions can I go to experience all there is to experience in life? And like a tapestry, there's highs, there's lows, there's dark shades, there's light shades, there's greens and purples. And if you just colored with one color of paint on that, or one type of weaving, it'd be pretty boring to just have a purple, square on the wall or a yellow one. But when you weave all the colors together, it's a beautiful creation. It's artwork, right? It's meaningful. It moves us. And a tree is the same thing. We've got our core values that are the trunk, but then how do we want to experience our values out in life? And how many different viewpoints can we take to experience what's out there?
And also, what are you bringing into it? Like the root system, what are you bringing into it to nourish that so you can branch out, right? So what are you doing to satisfy the needs of the creator, right? Is the word I would use in there. And even the word creator means a gardener in a sense. If you go back to the origin of the word, it's gardener. And so it's the ability to nourish something. So what are you bringing into that? Yeah, go ahead. What did that bring up for you?
Well, I just love that analogy still, right? Self-care for all of us is an important thing. And I think that's part of the success story for each of us is understanding and finding out what it is that nourishes us, that really does vibe with and resonate with our true values within. And that's a fun experience in and of itself to just explore and figure out, right? Rather than accepting the things that are there and we're growing up, having that exploratory process to figure out what does fulfill me, right? What does nourish me? For some people, it's music very heavily, right? Others, it could be the written word. Service tends to nourish all of us in a profound way. And a lot of times these things are kind of heaped on us like, you should do this, you need to do that, you have to do this, be good, serve, do these things. But it's through the exploration process of, is that really what resonates with me, that helps us to see that it really does.
Yeah, you
I don't know
spoke
if I'm communicating
earlier.
that properly.
No, yeah, I think you did a great job, and I want to pull back a little bit to what you shared earlier. Is how you look at the world, how you speak the world, is how it's going to be, right?
Yes.
And the idea of prediction, the prediction, right? So before you speak it to the world, you have a chance to play it out. And who's playing it out, who's doing the viewing of your world, matters as much as who's doing the doing in your world. And so that idea of what you speak into the world really comes from what's going on in here. And so that nourishment really ties into that, as well as what you're putting in here eventually comes out. It eventually grows from you. It expresses from you. I think it was Rich Litvin that said that vision isn't where you're going, it's what's coming from you.
Mm-hmm.
And so going back to the idea of speaking it to the world and nourishment, I mean, we're all over the place on this, and I can see a pattern here, but that speaking it to the world really comes back to what's going on in here that's doing that, right? What's playing out in here before you even speak it, that prediction What's going on in there that has you play it out and speak it in a certain way that now that becomes your reality?
Yeah.
What is that?
I love that. So this takes me back to some of my first sessions with Steve Hardison, and I
Okay.
worked with him for a little over a year. One of those first sessions, he brought up a framework that I don't know if he got it from Werner Erhard or where he got it from, or if he created it, right? But
Yeah.
it was a huge wake-up call to me when he taught me about transformation. I don't know if this is what he meant to teach me, because all I know is what I got out of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I remember he talked about transformation, and transformation's only occurring as we are speaking it, writing it, thinking about it, getting it out into the world. The moment we stop creating transformation, it stops.
Mm.
So, for example, love is a great example, right? I say I love you. Transformation's happening in that moment. But if I stop expressing it, saying it, demonstrating it, writing it, etc., it's not happening. It's not there because there's no language creating it and transforming us as human beings.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about what's here driving what's coming out, it's like, yeah, what can we put in so that we are getting out the things we want to create with, and then we're not creating with, faulty tools and bad materials, right?
Well, I'm gonna play with this a little bit, because the laws of thermodynamics state that energy isn't created or destroyed; it's transformed from one form to another.
Yes.
And in transformation, essentially, what we're doing is we're taking energy of one form and transforming it to another. So, if we're not doing that transformation, that doesn't happen. It just sits there. Like all these materials and resources are around us, but it takes our activity to move it, right? To take it from what it is into something else. This microphone, somebody had that idea, we call that abundance, that some pieces of metal and sand and rocks and electricity can create a transference of sound. And they put this thing together that was at one point chaos, right? And so that idea of transformation only happens when you're actually actively transforming. To me is really powerful when it comes to illuminating the path, right?
I love
Like
that.
it takes movement. Can you expound a little bit on that?
Yeah, staying with the science, it's going from potential energy to kinetic energy, right? There's got to be a catalyst. I'm going to go back. I'll probably reference a lot of what I picked up from training with Steve, right?
Yeah.
Being coached by Steve. Early on to one of our first sessions, he asked a question about, it went something like, what's one of the key ingredients to success? I believe was the question. It's like other things can be there, but without this one ingredient, you will never have success. You'll never have great outcomes in life. And I couldn't come up with the thing he was thinking about. And what it was anyone want to guess? And he shared this before, but what's the one ingredient you have to have in order to have success?
Action.
Action. That's right. Just like we're talking about. Without action,
Wish you would have
there
said
will be
wrong. Just cause. Wrong.
Dang it. Nope.
Just kidding. It's true.
Sorry.
Action.
Try again. No prize. Yeah.
It's actually pronounced acción.
Acción.
Right?
Yes.
You got it wrong.
Back to our Spanish roots, but I think this is a really important element to bring up here, because what I find in gets in my way the most as far as an illuminated path and then going down that path, what often keeps me from going down that path so it continues to be illuminated and great outcomes get created are things like fear, right? An inspired idea will come, and then all of a sudden these other little things start to latch on, like fearful thoughts, small thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And rather than take the action and just see what happens, even if it's going to be a little messy, a little unknown, a little whatever, right?
Yeah.
Those fearful thoughts can pull us back, and we don't get into action. We don't take the steps. We don't create the new company. We don't go say the thing in the relationship that could move things forward. We don't create. It stops the creation process. And it's usually fearful, small thoughts that keep us from doing that.
And where I love to hang is right there, because when people can learn to work with that, they can do anything.
Anything. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so the uncertainty, all of that, it becomes scary when you look forward from fear. But if you are looking forward at uncertainty from a space of, I know I can handle anything, uncertainty is exciting, right? Everything is possible.
Yeah.
But I want to dive with you, Phillip, into the idea of when people get into that space of fear, and it overcomes, maybe the emotions overtake them, and then the thoughts, well, first the thoughts overtook them, and then the emotions kicked in and kept it going, and then that created the inaction because now they played out that there's something bad going to happen, and so now they have despair. So how do you work with people when they get into that space of fear? How do you help them to empower that, to heal that, to move through it and beyond it?
Yeah.
And maybe from your life, how did you do that?
Yeah. So, I mean, in short, I would say as a possibility, not the answer, right? But a
Yeah.
possibility of how we get them out of it or ourselves, an inspiring vision of the future of what's possible. That's what pulls us out of that. All it takes is one inspiring idea of a future that is it resonates with our soul and we see it as possible. Those two elements have to be there.
Yeah.
That'll wake any of us up from any doldrum that we're in, or any autopilot or self-defeating tendencies, right? If you see a possibility and you see it as possible
And
it's
that you can do
inspiring,
it, right?
yes, you got to see it as possible or you won't act, right? Or we
Right.
won't act. But
And
that's all it takes.
well, there's a half-life to that excitement too. So now
Oh,
let's say that you get that and you get that excitement for it, but then you sit on it.
yeah.
And what happens to the energy of that excitement?
Well, like you said, the half-life, it starts to diminish. You got to go generate it again, or you got to jump on quickly. That's why I like to remind myself, and then I share it with others as I'm reminding myself all the time. Inspired thought to instant action. Inspired thought to some of the best things that I feel like I've created in my life as far as great outcomes have come from me taking an inspired thought and getting into it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, sometimes it's had the half-life effect and got doled out, and then I had to get inspired again, and sometimes a few times, right? Before I finally had enough of a wake up of, okay, if I want this, it's time to act, and then you do it.
It's in the
really
book right
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
behind me. I don't know
Yeah.
if I don't know which way to turn there.
One
It
way.
looks familiar. Yeah,
What's
I've
that?
seen that somewhere.
Yeah. So, Rit's looking up and has this inspired thought of like possibilities of, hey, is that possible for me? Can I become a giant? Has some hope. If he waited too long, he waited. He sat around for a little bit, asked some questions to some other people. That could be a killer of your dreams too. If you go tell everybody, what you plan on doing, and then they should on you,
Get a lot of people.
tell you what you should or shouldn't
Yeah.
do. And then that half-life, it can kick in really quickly. And luckily for Rit decided to take action and start moving.
There's a great quote that brings up too. I was reading about, we spend a lot of time in life worrying about how we deliver ourselves to the world on the world's terms. Like, how does the world see me, right? We spend a lot of time with that question. How does this person look at me? What do they think? So much of it is wondering how other people perceive us. And if we could reverse that model and instead focus on what is my authentic delivery of myself to the world, that's like a surefire way to drop the fear, because there's no fearful thoughts anymore. It's just me living full out, right?
Yeah.
Focusing on our delivery of ourselves to the world rather than trying to fit a mold of what the world thinks we should do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think Lisa Feldman Barrett talks about that we feel anxious when we don't live up to the ideals we think others have for us. And we really can't be in our full power when we're living for others, in that sense of getting their approval. That's what I mean. Now, you can live for others and give service to others. That's a little different, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But the idea of I'm doing this so that others will approve of me brings up a lot of fears, insecurities, perfection, things that are disempowering, right?
Yeah.
And,
Takes me back to elementary school years, right? And junior high years, right? Does it not?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely middle school for sure for me, right? Just fitting in. So I want to play with that a little more, that the event action, the importance of taking action on it immediately is what helps to illuminate the path, is because there's really no path if you're not walking on it. There's a possibility of a path. You might be at a trailhead, but there's really no path until you enter the path, and it goes somewhere. But if it's just an entry point or a possibility, then that's all it is until you step onto the path. And I kind of want to speak to that a little bit, or have you speak to that a little more, of the importance of just picking a path. Maybe even not, you might not even know if it's the quote unquote right path, right? But pick a path and follow it. We might
Or just say, the heck with this, I'm going to make my own path.
Okay, yeah.
I'll make it as I go. To be quite honest, for me, that's been the most fulfilling. The moments in life when I feel most fulfilled, I'm not worried about being on a path. I'm interested in charting my path.
That's interesting. Here we are on a show that didn't exist a decade ago, talking about giants, right?
Yeah.
Talk about cutting a path that didn't exist, right? The same idea is there's a lot of fulfillment, but there are a lot of unknowns in that too, because the path isn't carved. There's nothing for you to follow. So you're really leaning on bringing it back to you, Phillip.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can count on you no matter the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that? How do you do that? How do you create yourself so that you can go explore the world?
Well, I know what's been most effective for me, and this started as a boy. My everything I've accomplished in my life, I can really say I'm standing on the shoulders of my parents, first of all. Right? My parents have been the greatest mentors and supporters of my life, and so much of what I've created has started with, building upon what they've taught me, or some of the best things I've seen in their lives. Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they shared with me as a boy, I remember being we had a basement, right? And there were stairs coming out of the basement. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember what I took from what he said. My dad stopped me as I was walking up these stairs, and he said something along the lines of, never forget the power of your thoughts. Said, if you can see something, an idea for the future, and if you can stay focused on that and work towards that, you can accomplish anything you want. Almost like what we get out of coaching, right? About positive mentality and visualizing what we want and staying focused on that. What we focus on grows, right? Like my dad shared that insight with me as a boy. And when I started working with Steve Artisan, it's like it opened up that same vein again. As I got with Steve, I was like, I could see it as possible. The value of focusing on a powerful idea and not letting these limiting beliefs. And so in my first few sessions with Steve Artisan, we worked on getting back to your question here, removing all the thoughts that weren't that, meaning the life I wanted to experience and live. What was I habitually believing about myself and the world around me that was not aligned with the life I wanted? And it took a process of identifying and becoming clear about all of these thoughts that were bouncing around my mind for years that were holding me back. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Everybody else got the memo and I missed it. I'm not good looking enough. I don't say the right things, right? Like that kind of crap bouncing around the mind, like we talked about earlier, that's what's going to come out of my mouth. That's the type of action I'm going to take. And that's the type of outcomes that are going to be created, right? And the experience will be that. So for me, my recommendation is we got to become aware of these limiting beliefs that are here, and we got to pull them out like weeds. And as they're gone and we're left with a clear space to work with again, from our souls, the new truths rise up and they shape our being, which then shapes our doing and creates the outcomes out in the world. So it's this process of removing the stuff we don't want anymore and letting rise up from within the new truths.
We, in our 12 journeys, the first 6 journeys that we work on are all around that, the unconsciousness. So the things you don't even know are there, right? The weeds that you talk about. Sometimes you don't even know they're there, right?
Yeah.
And they go back.
I didn't know.
I'm sure Steve is
still
like,
find new ones too all the time, by the way.
He's like, hey, I'm going to help you see those so that you can see them clearly. But the beauty of it is when you become aware of it, like the character in the story, he wasn't punished for becoming aware, right? He woke up and got into possibility. There was a moment where he shared his ideas with his friends and they belittled, but that's us. That's what we do to ourselves. We shame ourselves, or we tell ourselves we're not good enough, or we can't do this. And that gets in the way of our growth, because now we're in justification and judgment about what was unconscious, right? What was in there that we didn't know was there. And then once we found out about it, then we shamed ourselves for even having it. And then we felt sad about it being what it is. And so that's where there's a lot of movement that can happen when you create space for that to just be what it is, right? To recognize, oh, I got a weed in the garden, I'll just go ahead and pull that, versus I'm shameful because I've got a weed in the garden.
Yeah. I love what you just said about creating the space for it, right? Mm-hmm. Like we talk about trying to find these, what's meaningful to us out in the world. By creating the space, like you talked about, those things they come up. They're already within us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you've experienced that. I'm sure you have, right? Of when we remove those limiting beliefs and create that space, the new truths show up.
It's almost like brushing the leaves out of the way to see what's already there, because it's already in there, mm-hmm. Right?
And what have we done to cover it up? Like you said, leaves, sediment, right? Mud, all the stuff we
protections, right? Angers, hurt, all this stuff we put on it, so that it gets covered up, and we do it to protect that core. Absolutely. Yet those get in the way of us being able to grow the way that you're talking about.
Yeah. At the time when we picked that stuff up, we thought it was helpful to us, right? We were at some point in life, we show up and suddenly life goes from, hey, this is really great, to there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
Like, oh, am I not wearing the right clothes, or are people making fun of me, or hey, my family life isn't what I thought it should be. This isn't right. And we feel vulnerable, and the world doesn't really teach to embrace vulnerability, does it? It teaches strengthen up, attack first, and we pick up these tendencies that are getting and protecting behaviors that seem like they're useful in the moment, but they're all about survival, and they're not about thriving.
And they're not from your core.
Nope.
They're not. They're growing on top of that core. And when you can have those step aside and give room for them to, well, even an acknowledgement to them of, thank you for what you've created for me. Thank you for what you tried to do. Let me show you a better way. Right. And moving into that.
And it does. And I think what you're saying, or at least what I'm picking up, is it takes embracing the version of us that created those in the first place. Right.
Yeah.
And even embracing those beliefs that we've now hopefully are outgrowing as well. Not judging them, because that keeps distance apart and we can't heal from it, but being able to go back to the 5-year-old version of us, the 12-year-old version of us, the 6th grade version of me on a Friday afternoon crying on the football field because my day was going so bad, and being ashamed of that version of me, right?
Yeah.
As long as I'm ashamed of that, the healing would have never shown up.
Well, the word trauma means a turning of the wound. And there's this continual turning of the wound because we haven't had a chance to really grieve the grief or heal the wound the way it really needs, which is to go back and sit with that part of us that really struggled and give them the compassion that they needed in that moment that they created this protection. Right.
Yeah. I love that. Steve, when we worked together, as we went through this process I described, part of that process is in visualizing the 1-year-old version of you, the 2-year-old version, every version of you where these limiting beliefs showed up, and giving them a pass, right? A presidential pardon, as he would coin it, where you literally go back to all these instances that still resonate in your mind or come up for you, and you give that person a hug, right? You tell them, I know you were doing the best you can. You did great. And there's that healing process that comes from being able to do that. And the reframing of the circumstances were this, I had this story over here. I now see an elevated story that I can describe that of what happened there.
Yeah.
I make that mean so that going forward, it's more powerful.
I had no idea Phillip grew up. Here I am being 6 years old or 6th grade or whatever. And Phillip grew up and I didn't even know it because I'm still stuck here. Right.
Yeah.
And
totally.
And it's so many, I like the idea Richard Schwartz calls it parts. I like the idea of fractals. They're fractures of us, right, that got left in the past, and it's adding the gold, like in the Japanese, is it ikigai? I think that's the idea, that they put gold in the
Broken
fractures.
pottery, and
Yeah,
I love
they
that.
embrace
Oh, it's
it.
so good. It's so good.
It feels like that. You're going back and you're making that part of the whole again. And you're reincorporating it in, but you're honoring it. You're not shaming it. You're really just bringing it in, putting gold around it, loving it. And that creates illumination, right?
It does. No, absolutely. The process itself is so experiential. It's very difficult to describe unless you just go through it on your own. Like, you really got to experience that process and practice it to really get a sense of just how powerful and how freeing it is. It's like a breath of fresh air and a mother's hug and a apple baked pie. It's all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Sounds
Try
amazing.
to describe it, but you gotta
All at the
experience
same
it.
time.
Right? Yeah, all at the same time. And some Andy Griffith in the background.
Yeah.
Right. When people can really heal that part of them, those parts of them,
Yeah.
and bring them forward and update them and reparent them and hold space for them, what it does for looking forward is amazing. It's when you go from that, right, that version of you that holds space for you, and you look at the unknown, and you look at abundance, and you look at surrender and nurture and all these things that go into creation and vision. From that space, you're able to see a hopeful future, right?
Yeah.
But when that's all messy in here, and you look forward at those same things, there's no difference between them. You don't see that. You see something else. So we find it very important to go back and make sure you're able to do that work, right?
Absolutely. I try to do it at least first thing in the day to start my day, right? Because
Yeah.
I wake, I don't know about you two and everyone else on the show tonight. I wake up feeling and seeing the world through all kinds of crazy ways, right? Like, first thing in the morning. Some
Yeah.
days it's just like today. I woke up today and it was great. Life was awesome. I was ready to jump into the day. I went
Yeah.
through my affirmations, my morning routine. Life was great. Other days, not too long ago, just a few days ago, you can wake up and for no apparent reason, it's like, I don't even want to, I just want to go sit on the beach, or I don't want to go talk to people or
Yeah.
whatever. And luckily I've created a habit for myself that's become, it's a routine that's become a habit where I'm able to remind myself of what's important to me, often through things like a gratitude exercise. For me,
Yeah.
a 5-minute gratitude exercise is one of my favorite tools to get out of the mess we've been talking about, right?
Yeah.
And recognize how wonderful the world is that we live in. And it gets me out of that box that I might have found myself in to start the day. And in just a few moments, I can do the shift because I've been practicing it so much.
That right there. See, this is the beauty of it, is I think people have this construct or this idea that when you learn this, you're never going to have issues again for the rest of your life.
Which is a hurdle in and of itself.
Steve Hardison, do you have issues ever? And he's probably going to say, I don't choose to see issues, but that's because of his practice and how he's being, I'm sure. But there's times where I'm sure fear comes in, but he's so proficient at shifting.
At
Yeah.
moving
Well,
through
how
it,
many
right?
years? I mean, if you could tell us how many years he's been practicing this, more than 30, right?
Right.
He's been practicing this. That's what he told me all the time and tells people is, I've been practicing this so much all the time. Yeah, we are always under construction, right?
Yeah.
Like, for me, so this is a great point. For me, this has been a hurdle too, of thinking, I've had this breakthrough so many times. Doesn't it just get to where you don't need the breakthrough anymore?
Right.
Like,
Shouldn't I know this by now?
Great, right?
I also just had this epiphany. I figured out how to get Steve Hardison on your podcast. You send him to Mumbai, and then you get Phillip Weech on a special. And I don't even know what time it is in Mumbai. But then Steve Hardison participates as we're doing this. That's great.
There we
Great
go.
recipe right
I was
there.
flying
Yeah.
your flag, Steve. I just Googled Steve F. Hardison, and this is the first image that I grabbed quickly, but
Yeah.
it'll do in a pinch. I know there's better ones, but that's a good looking picture of you, buddy.
Yeah. And I love that, like the thought, and Steve just shared with us, always under construction, right? So
Yeah.
there's under construction in a purposeful way of we're great where we're at, and we want to grow more because we can. So let's go
Not
do it.
like the U.S. highway systems.
not
Not
like
like that.
not like Utah freeways, right, guys?
Yes.
No.
No.
And there's days where it is
Sounds
like
terrible.
yeah. Sometimes it's like I'm not doing well, or life's not going the way I want. So let's remodel from that point of view, right? But
Okay. So
go ahead.
yeah, no, that right there. We are always under construction. And go ahead and finish out, and then I can capture this and come back to it. But go ahead and finish if you got it.
You keep rolling. This is perfect.
Getting hit with things. So it's almost like there will be events in your world, and they could or could not have effect, but there are events. You know, as an
Neutral.
example, this week my engine light came on, and my engine blew. Right,
Mhm.
and so it hit. It really hit because it's not cheap to fix it.
Yeah,
But emotionally, it really just impacted. And I got to go back through these tools that I have. This years ago would have rocked me. It would have rocked me for a long, long time. And here, within just a few moments, couple of hours, I was able to move back through the emotions and regain my footing, right? And not ignore or deny anything that's happening within me. Not try and chase it away, not try and shame it, not try and hide it. None of that. Embrace it, love it, and bring it with me as we step back into engagement with what we're creating and committed to.
And today
yeah.
he shared, it was interesting because he shared, it was just a thought. It was just a thing that happened. And yet we put all this meaning to it of like what it's going to do to you and all this, oh, it's going to be inconvenient. It's going to cost all this money. I'm going to lose all this time and energy, and spins you up
Yeah.
on a story it's just a thought. It's just a thing.
What are we making it mean? Right.
Right.
What are we making it mean?
Yeah.
And
It's pretty cool to watch him make that shift, though, by the way, from
Thank you, man.
a window over.
So what did you do to make the shift? Like what was the key thing you did that really pulled you out of that?
Well, I leaned on the journeys. So I leaned on one, recognizing that it's present. Like I'm in it. And to give myself space to be in it, but also to feel the sadness of it. I had an ideal, like that shouldn't be happening. That's not what I prefer, but it happened. And so to recognize that there was a gap between what I had in mind and what was showing up as my reality, my objective reality. So even giving room for that, to feel the sadness of that experience, and to acknowledge that, the third journey in ours is the acknowledgement, to acknowledge and give acceptance to the idea that all of this is happening. And it is what it is. I might not love it. I could love it, but I'm acknowledging even that, the loving and the not loving, the enjoying and the not enjoying, all of it.
Totally.
And so, and then I leaned on my tools. So I called friends and family, I not to ask for anything, but to help me move through the emotions of it. Right. So my brother Pride, he's a little younger than me, but I'll call him up and we'll just have a deep conversation. And I just say, I need to talk. I don't need you to do anything with it. Just sit there and listen. And he'll hold space for me. It's one of my tools that I lean on so I can get my energy back. I talked to Ryan about it. Right.
Fantastic.
But it's about getting the power back in here so that I can start to surrender again and go with the flow of things and start to create and start to envision possibilities again. Because if I go from the messiness of it when it really impacts me and I look forward to that stuff, I can't see solutions. But if I can really slow down with it and allow it and be with it, then it calms my whole body down and I'm able to start seeing solutions in my world.
Yeah,
right? And possibility.
I love that. In a way, and I've heard it described this way, and it's so true for me, of when we're in that box of the self-defeating thoughts that are kind of holding us down, having someone we can reach out to that's not in that same box, that has a different point of view, and they can reach their hand in and we can grab it and they'll pull us out.
I like that.
There's nothing better, right? I mean, nothing better.
And any tools, breathing, like there was a lot of breathing going on.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Oxygenate that mind and body.
Yeah. Like you said, gratitude, acknowledging the good that's still there. There's a lot of good in our world right now, acknowledging that. And I think tools are so important when the emotions hit, which I think they will for people that are called humans. When they hit, it's nice to have tools that you can lean on that help soften that emotion, the emotional impact.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you have some, like gratitude was one of your favorite tools for that.
Gratitude's a big one. Getting out and serving people, just getting into action.
Yeah.
When I don't feel like getting out and serving people, that's the best time for me to get out and serve someone, right? Because then it helps me see life through a different lens, just by getting into action, like we talked about earlier. What's Steve sharing? Challenging Jane to create money to work with them. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That's the whole story
this is
right
all
there in and of
true.
itself that Steve just shared. Yeah.
Huh.
Thank you, Steve. I love you.
Phillip,
And I love Judy.
what impact are you wanting to make? What is your legacy, your living legacy, your legacy when you're gone? Like, what impact are you hoping to make in the world?
Well, I want to start right now in the present, and I'd love to invite anyone that's watching this currently or is going to see this later out on recording. Take a look at your own life, right? Do a little accounting, so to speak, of what's not how you want it to be. And reflect on that in a moment. Is your experience based on the outcomes not being what you want? Or is it possible that it's because your sense of being and your stories about the circumstances of life are not what you want?
Mm.
And what I found for me, and I find it true for others, is if you want to impact the outcomes of your life, you want to change how your life looks, you got to start by how you're interpreting and how you're seeing life itself. And that very act will illuminate for us who we really are and the things that are holding us back, so we can replace them with things that are aligned with who we are. And then the inspired thoughts just start popping up all over, and we start taking action. So my invitation for legacy, right? For everyone on this call, where are you at in that story? What inspired ideas have you been thinking about recently, or have you received that you haven't yet acted on, where you've let fear get in the way? And I just had another awakening with this recently, right? I was in a coaching conversation and somebody made the observation of, Phil, are you afraid of messiness in your life? Like, are you letting the fear of life being a little messy and a little unknown get in the way of you having an impact in the world? And I sat there for a minute and thought, holy crap, I really am. Like I kind of I'm a little neat freak sometimes when I'm looking at my life planning strategy, right?
The problem with coaches is you can't ignore your weeds anymore, right?
Well, you can, but it's not wise to.
Right.
You can. I know I have. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm being real with you, right? Phil, could you share your document if you have not?
Feel like an appropriate time to click on that.
Yeah. On Steve's comment?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd love to do that. So I'm going to grab it actually, because I've got like 3 versions of this, and we'll run out of time if I share it all. But I'm going to actually take from my documents and I'm going to share in real time some of the key pieces that are going through me right now, going through my bloodstream, so to speak, right?
Can you give an idea of what a document is for those that don't know?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit before, of when I first started working with Steve Hardison, the very first session. He helped me to identify and distinguish that in my mind, I had adopted beliefs about myself and the world that were holding me back. Like we talked about, I'm not smart enough, success like that is for these people, it's not for me, whatever it could be. These were thoughts that were dominating my subconscious, but I was not aware that it was happening until he helped me see that they were there. And he didn't point them out. He just showed me the process and they started showing up. So then there's the process of forgiving myself and loving myself despite those thoughts being there, so I could be with them and let them kind of evaporate by being with the thoughts and going through the forgiveness process. And from the space created, just being me, just being, not doing, not creating, not having to look a certain way, just being Phil with no strings attached. These are truths that rose up almost like a spring from a mountain, perfect, clear, pristine condition, truths about who I am, right? Statements like, I am wanted, I am loved, I am cherished.
I just want to highlight real quick before you do this. Are you going to share your document as well, or?
Yeah, I will. I'll share one of them.
I love the expression that it came. It wasn't that you had to go discover it, to go find it, to go create it, to go develop it. Nothing. It was when you slowed down and held space for all of this, right? They just sprung from you. They were already there. So as those that are watching hear this, that is where the document will come from. It's not a creation. It's an expression almost, right, of who you are at your core. Is that accurate?
Very accurate. And it's not a one and done situation. It's an ongoing experience.
Huh.
Like it never ends. And that's why I've got quite a bit to my document, but there's some core elements. So I'll share with you here the first one I ever created, and the very first work I ever did, right? And the document goes, and I call this my sunrise, by the way, because I love light. I love the beginning of a new day and how it's a fresh start, and whatever happened yesterday is history, and now we've got the newness of today. So anytime I see light, that's one of my symbols that reminds me of who I am. And who I am is that I am here, present of mind, enjoying the current moment. I am perfectly me. I'm not broken. There's nothing wrong with me. There's no way I need to be or have to be. I am perfectly me. I am the difference. When I show up in a situation, I'm the difference that makes that situation work. I'm the answer to somebody's prayer. I'm the solution waiting to happen. I'm the invention waiting to be created. I am fearless. I am wanted, loved, and cherished. I am that I savor this moment like ice cream. I am variety as I create possibilities from a fresh canvas. I am infinite love to my best friend, the gorgeous and Christ-like Sophie Ann Weech. Especially when I'm not that, I am that. And it's okay when I have to remind myself of who she is to me, for me. I am that my family are perfectly them. My kids are screaming, they're yelling, they're making messes. They're perfect just the way they are. Just the way they are. I am unconditional love with myself and for others. I am unconditional love, forgiveness, and appreciation. I am interested in you, everything about you. And you are perfect just the way you are, and just the way you're not, too, by the way. And Sophie, for me, is perfect just the way she is, and I love her for what she's not. Both avenues. I am that I minister to the one. I am the distinction, abundance. Everything I touch turns to gold. I am that my heart knows the way. I am a disciple of Jesus Christ, and I strive to emulate his qualities in who I'm being and in what I'm doing. I hearken to the counsel of my heavenly parents and serve others wherever I stand. I am calm, collected, and swift to act, no matter what's going on around me. I am that I create intentionally with the end in mind from my being. I hearken to the counsel of my heavenly parents and serve others wherever I stand. I am calm, collected, and swift. I am that I can do that. And this is a big one. I really am that I can do that. Any inspired idea that comes, I can do that, guys. Really. Doesn't matter how big it is. Doesn't matter how tricky it looks. I may not even see the way forward. Illuminating a path, it may not be there. But I'm committed to making it happen as long as I can see it. I am that I can do that. And I'm all in on life. I'm not sitting back in the crowd anymore. I'm not on the sidelines. I am all in, participating, making fouls on the court, learning, taking free throws, right? I am in life, all in. I am grateful for the beauty that is all creation. Even the creation of that person cutting me off in traffic or cursing me out or whatever it could be. It's all beautiful and it's all creation. I am that my perception is my teacher. I am that I embrace what is. I am respectful of the beliefs of all. I am passionate, free, and unlimited. I am instant connection with others, experiencing them as tender mercies, as my love envelops them in a warm embrace. I am that you are my friend, and I love you as myself, for we are one. I am that I own this moment to create and experience miracles. I am that I act, learn, then repeat. Here I am. And I'll tell you, sometimes it's not easy to be this when I've got a different lens on, right, guys? We just talked about this.
Yeah.
But when I come back to who I really am, life just works.
Yeah.
My visions become reality. Life is a game, and I'm just playing it from a state of being playful and free, swift, focused action, just like Steve said.
Yeah.
You said something interesting in that too, that that I don't know that you know this, Philip, but the kind of the roots to the giants and the smalls is Nick standing in a food line and having
I do know
a
that.
conversation with Steve Hardison, and Nick asking Steve a question.
Yep.
The question was, can you? Before Nick could get, or before anything could happen, Steve Hardison says, yeah.
Yeah.
Nick can't even get the question out. He can't even remember what question. Can you, ride a bike fast? Can you juggle one-handed? Nothing like he didn't even know.
Yeah.
Can you build nuclear, could you do nuclear fission or something? I don't know what the words are.
Yeah.
And Steve says, yes. That's exactly what you just said. There's nothing bigger than Phillip Weech.
And I know who I am. And in that moment, Steve knew who he was, as he always does, or usually always does. And from Steve knowing who he was, Nick was inspired to see who Nick really was in that moment too. And look at this tree that's been growing from that for both of you, right?
Yeah.
Look at this tree that's growing out of that moment, and many moments before and many moments after.
And the many more that will,
and it'll never stop.
Yeah, they'll keep coming. There's more to come, and we don't even know what's next. But the grand vision is that we impact a world of giants, over 100 million people globally.
Yeah.
Right,
including
that's
my
the
two
impact.
children,
Including your two children,
and my older
including
two
those
that
on
weren't
this
here.
show. Yeah,
We've all
See,
read it
that's-
multiple times. They love it. They love the book.
it's beautiful to see things play out, and to not be able to see it fully, to me, is a gift. If I saw everything I had to do to get to where I am today, I wouldn't have done it.
Mm.
I would have been overwhelmed by it. I would have thought there's no way in hell I could do that. So thankfully I was blind to it and I could just step, right? And
so what I'm hearing is what a great thing. It was only illuminated a little way for you.
yes,
right?
yes. Yeah. All of it. And it's all played out perfectly. Every bit of it. We wouldn't have expected to be on this show this evening with you, right? When we began this journey. 10 years ago, 13 years ago, when I wrote the book, 2009, it's almost 14 years now, right? Couldn't have expected to see all of this. So it's amazing, the gift of blindness and illuminating the path a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Right. Huh.
Total dry rain right there. We love to be illuminated. We love to be inspired. And it's also blessed sometimes to have a little darkness.
Right. Right.
Letting us choose. Like in those moments, I love a little darkness now, a little unknown, because that means we get to choose.
Yeah.
We literally get to choose what path we're going to create ahead of us. Can
Yeah.
I go back to your question as we get ready to summarize and close here?
Absolutely.
You asked me what legacy I want to leave.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know exactly how that looks and all the details yet. I know some of it, but I know the overarching theme for my legacy is that I raise the human spirit.
Mm.
And for right now, all I know is that wherever I show up, that's the guiding force. Whether I'm at the supermarket, whether I'm on a call with giants, right, all over the world, wherever I'm at, my guiding light is to raise the human spirit.
Yeah.
Said another way, to illuminate the light that's already within everyone around you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You are that. You're doing that. Just incredibly grateful for you. I mean, there are so many giants in the world now. It blows my mind that we get to sit in conversation like this with people like you, Phillip, every week. You know, it blows my mind. Every week we get illuminated, and here you are tonight doing exactly what you're committed to be in the world. And just want to tell you how grateful I am for you, and the light that you help me see in me. Right. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And thank you. And I love the way you choose to see me.
Thank you.
Like, that's how you see me says a lot about you. Right. And I appreciate that. And I acknowledge that in you, that you can see that in me. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Ryan,
I
other
love you
thoughts?
guys.
I love you too, man.
Phillip is that too. Like he is love. That's how I experience Phillip Weech. And I get emotional. I don't know why, Phillip, with you, dude. I don't know why, but like, you had sent me a message about your kids and reading the Giants and the impact that we'd had, and how much it hit me so hard. That something that we were able to put together could have that much of an impact on two beautiful lives, like hundreds and hundreds of miles away. And yeah, I don't know why it hit me so hard. Some of the things that I was going through at the time was, still working through some of my childhood abandonment issues and holding on to those, and not seeing myself as a giant. And even though I had the most amazing parents, I was adopted, and always felt like I was just not worthy of their love. That I had to constantly prove myself, and they'll tell you that's not true at all. They loved me for who I was. I was their son.
Yeah.
But always trying to show them that I'm worthy to not give up on.
Yeah.
And to be like, oh, and you sent me that, and I don't know, it hit really hard when you did, and I sure appreciate you for the timely message. It came at a perfect time for me, so thank you
You're welcome.
for
And-
you.
And I was not exaggerating when I shared that, and it came from a profound sense of gratitude for both of you, again, for the impact you'd had on my children. And I just had a thought. I wanted to make sure I got it out for you, Ryan. I think I just lost it though. That's okay. Let's keep rolling.
If you remember, we can talk later. I just want you to know that had just a ton of gratitude in my heart, because from day one, you didn't know me that well, but from day one, you saw me as the best version of myself, even when I couldn't see myself that way.
Yeah. Ryan the lion heart. That's you, man. That's both of you, really. But yeah, heart of a lion.
Thank you.
Phillip, what do you as we wrap up here, if you could give a message directly to those that are watching, right? There are a few views on here of a statement or a comment or whatever comes to heart for you that you would say to them to have them remember and take as they leave this episode. What would you share?
Yeah, well, the most important thing I would share is that the most important thing isn't anything we've shared, but it's whatever insights people that had participated in the show tonight, the insights they received. That's the most important takeaway. It's nothing that we said, but I guarantee anyone that's been on this call tonight has had some type of inspiration come to them. That's the gold. Nothing that we necessarily said, but the gold that they got. That's what I would encourage them to go and act on, because that's what will have the biggest impact on moving them forward one step more up that mountain, the mountain with no top, but is joyful to just go up. That's what I'd recommend.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for a powerful show. For those that are watching, I don't know that we can even express how much gratitude we have for you. You're here, you're in the tribe of giants. We see the same people show up every week.
Steve Hardison.
Yeah.
He's killing me over here. I'm not trying a lot to laugh, but on like almost every show he'll say like, do not read this statement, or like has that rash cleared up to try to get me to laugh.
Well,
or
Steve, hang on to him for a bit.
Oh my
hang on to him
gosh.
for a bit because we got to figure that out.
Funny.
So
We love you too, Steve.
yeah, but for you that are watching,
crap.
like we're so grateful. Go tell your friends about us. Tell them what we're up to. Tell them about the giants. Tell them about the book and your experience with the book. Invite them to the tribe of giants. Bring them to shows like this. Help them to see the light in themselves, you know, the power that they already have. That's all we're trying to do here. And I feel inspired to ask you to do that. We have us three in this room and all of you that are watching, and Philip's kids and your kids, if you're watching, and we're making an impact, but we can't do it alone. And so we're asking you to help us.
Yeah,
And that's
Count on
it.
me for that.
Find Phil. You can right there at the website. You can connect with him. Find him on Facebook. Steve, you know how to get a hold of him, but I'm going to tell everybody else is you can find him on Facebook. You can hit him up on Messenger. If you send him a message and want to talk to him, I'm sure he'd love to have a conversation with you.
Sometimes he's hiding with Waldo.
Yeah, where's Phil, right? And the thought came back, by the way. So let me close this out with my thought about I was going to share with Ryan. There's my phone number. I'm going to just put it out there. Anybody wants to chat? I'm all about creating relationships.
Hold on,
So
let's pull this up. Yep.
We'll put it in there.
Here's the thought I wanted to share earlier. Okay, with Ryan here. I never would have chosen for you as a guy that cares about you, Ryan. Never would have chosen that you had abandonment issues to deal with. Right? Not that those were real things, but they were real experiences, right? Never would have wanted you to have to experience that. But since they were there and since you did experience it, I am grateful for that, because who you have become from that wrestle and that struggle is blessing the lives of people every single day. It has and is and will continue to. And for that, I am grateful, even though I never would have chosen those circumstances for you.
Thank you.
So thank you for being who you are in the world from that experience. That's what I wanted to share earlier. And
it's amazing.
I love you.
Man.
Ryan wouldn't be who he is today without any of it, right? Man.
None of us would be. That's why our struggles they are a part of us. Like, it's not something we need to shy away from. They are our superpowers to go bless and serve the world and to people all around us.
So go
It's
put
not
gold
something
in
to
them.
hide. Let's be loud and proud, right?
Yeah, I love it. Powerful show. Thank you again. We'll do this again. I know we will. We've got another great show coming up this Sunday. If you can join us then. Following week, we've got another awesome show. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter on giantsandsmalls.com, because we keep posting our events, blog posts, videos. You get it all right to your email. It makes it just super convenient for you. And we just are grateful for everything that you guys are helping us create. So make it a giant evening. We will see you in the next video.
Love you too.
Awesome. Love you guys.